It is impossible to reconcile the philosophies that are beneficial to humanity with the elite controlled philosophies. In this video, like with every other video, I will not speculate. I will bring you the facts. Their own websites and other valid sources have verified the existence of these philosophies, and they give away why they are being propagated. When you look at the Ford Foundation, the Kaiser Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation historically, and you look at other historical institutes like the Carnegie Institute, okay, they tie feminism, the LGBT philosophies, eugenics, pharmaceuticals, and other New World Order philosophies such as agnosticism and atheism together. So the people who push these philosophies are either unwitting corporate shills, or they know very well what they're doing. And either way, they are wrong. And when they refuse to be corrected, you must assume that they are the latter and not the former, that they are directly controlled. Because why else would one refuse to correct an error that is so overtly harmful to humanity? When you look at how the Ford Foundation, for instance, on record with the Rockefeller Foundation, funds and gives grants, millions of dollars in grants to women's studies and women's groups, they say that there are certain cultural norms that keep women from achieving true equality, which is the exact argument of the feminists. Feminism is nothing more than a branch of the New World Order, where their philosophies come from corporate America and the foundations they've created. David Rockefeller, John D. Rockefeller, Henry Ford, and Kaiser Mental Health Services. These things directly connect these philosophies and these political groups to corporate America, the same groups that they claim are part of a patriarchy that is oppressing them. Isn't that curious? If there is a patriarchy and it is oppressing women, and it is found in corporate America, why would the biggest corporations, Rockefeller with his business alliances, just Google it, with Rothschild, they control the finance, which in turn controls the tech, pharmaceutical, and other extremely relevant sectors. Why would these groups fund women's studies and women's rights movements if they were part of a patriarchy oppressing women? Because that is just a lie that the feminists push. And of course, we know that gender equality is something that the gays and the feminists throw in on for obvious reasons. The gender feminism, right? Blurring the line between men and women is very LGBT friendly, to say the least. And of course, we know feminists have said that they want society to believe in human potential and not God, because God creates the cultural norms. Religions create the cultural norms, if you want to say it that way, that they see as oppressing women, such as family values and Christian values being intertwined in many Western nations. So at the end of the day, I've come across many feminists who are very stubborn. They refuse to recant for one of two reasons. One, they have a complex that is not connected to the New World Order, that doesn't allow them to do the right thing. It's me, me, me. Something that the feminists have written, such as Frieden and Steinem and other Zionist feminists, in the closet Zionist, atheistic feminists, have written, resonates with them, such as, women should work, and it makes them feel proud and increases their self-worth and their power. And they talk about pussy power, right? And women control 85% of consumer decisions. So it goes back to conformity and consumerism, which are the things that really drive society. So this consumer culture, right? It is the corporations that the consumers are buying from, teaming up with the gender that controls 85% of the, consumption. Whether they agree with their husband to buy something, whether they do their shopping while their husband is at work or their significant other. For whatever reason, they control 85% of the purchases in America. So it doesn't take a genius to figure out that the patriarchy, are Luciferians, or not the patriarchy, but the corporate America consists of Luciferians whose philosophy is compatible with the desires and urges, the inclinations of women with complexes. And so they say, well, we're going to break down this family because marriage is oppressive to women. And therefore, women will become bigger consumers, right? Because they'll go out and get jobs. And these people are controlling the philosophies, the trends, so that women are purchasing their products. For the same reason, Nike and other companies such as IBM, which you can no doubt also connect to this, Apple, they put sports players and celebrities because these are people who control or partially control or contribute to the greater philosophies in society and the trends and the fads. So when you look at this thing, right, it is impossible to reconcile a righteous Christian philosophy that builds a strong family and that teaches people to love one another with philosophies that teach people to be selfish and to consider how much power they could have versus what is best for humanity, especially the families, because it starts at home. Change starts at home and in your own neighborhoods and communities with positive interactions and strong family structures. The highest form of morality comes from Christianity and Abrahamic faiths, and these people have biblical patriarchs, if you will, associated with them that are central to their philosophies, ideologies, and texts. So again, I tell you, Christianity is the religion of the poor and those who seek to do the right thing, as opposed to corporate funded philosophies, which are religions that are beneficial to corporations and those whose lifestyle violates Christian morality. So no matter how you slice it, the spiritual bottom feeders have an unholy alliance with corporate America, and it's on record. It's not just what we notice. We can trace it through the Ford Foundation, through the Rockefeller Foundation, the Kaiser Foundation. We can trace it through AstraZeneca and Pfizer and Abbott. We can trace it through the pharmaceutical companies, Johnson and Johnson. We can trace them and we can connect them together through the foundations and the roundtable group, the trilateral commissions, the commissions, foundations, institutes, and centers, such as the Center for the Advanced Study of Behavioral Sciences at Stanford University. Again, other institutions with strategic partnerships, that take their marching orders from the big corporations. All secret societies do is provide the philosophical foundation for the expansion of corporate America. And Christianity talks about don't be worldly, while feminists talk about get money, So it is impossible to be a mainstream feminist, for instance, and to be a spiritual person because you're worldly. It's like go to work, don't take care of your child. And in every culture in the world, the family was extremely important. In some cultures, we say it takes a village to raise a child. Not only was the family structure important, but also the village helping the family to maintain a strong structure. While all corporate America is concerned with is the white power structure and the international financiers. So no matter how you slice it, once you use their labels, it's like putting on their team jersey, the Giants, the A's, the Bulls, the Warriors, okay? You're helping them expand their sphere of influence, and their presence, which makes their philosophies more and more socially normative. So to have that Satanist or Masonic or agnostic or atheist or feminist or LGBT or racist or eugenicist label is not only going against the best interests of humanity and, spirituality in general, religion, but you're also pushing the agenda of corporate America and the corporate West. The main power of these Luciferians is big corporations. Not only should we try to regulate them more as people, not just as the government. We all know the government is useless. They're in cahoots with corporate America. We need to regulate them as people. Boycotts. We need to take back our consumption. I mean, what powers the elite more than the money? And women control the money. So therefore, women's philosophies and reproductive activities are of the utmost importance to the revolutionaries and to all of humanity who haven't sold their soul for mind control and money. So a lot of you don't understand. You say, feminists say, why do you focus on women? It's men doing this. It's men doing this. There's nothing I can do about those men other than assassinate them or something. But a very practical way to address this that everyone can do is to address women breaking down the family with their allies, the feminists, and reinforce, praise the women who are good religious women, Muslims and Christians who are uncontrolled, who don't go to a Masonic church or a Mason-controlled church, women who are pushing Christian values, who don't conform or water down their beliefs. And we need to be harsh. We need to isolate and alienate those women who are pushing corporate America's philosophies, who are seeking to isolate and alienate the true revolutionaries and those who are true to values that help society. Values that I refer to as sacred morality. I'm the top martial artist in America, and I am persecuted for my political views, and corporate America is much to blame for this persecution. No shill sees things the way that I do or feels the way that I do, or there's no way they would be a shill. Watch this conversation with a feminist, and so help me God, I've won exchanges and arguments and debates with feminists all my life. 20 years worth. Do you think it's a coincidence the Ford Foundation came out in the 50s and the third wave feminism is rooted in the 60s? It's a no-brainer here. So when you look at it, I crush her argument and I show her hypocrisy. She refuses to admit it. She focuses on the same nonsensical arguments. I crush hers. She doesn't address mine. And a child would tell you that I've won this exchange. After studying women for 3 years on Tinder alone and, interviewing and doing studies on thousands of women, it is very apparent to me that my sociological studies have made it 100% clear that feminism is destroying humanity and heterosexuality as far as it being a healthy way of life, and then turning around and saying heterosexual marriage is oppressive to women, but magically homosexual marriage, lesbian marriage isn't. Gay marriage isn't. Don't you see what they're doing here? They're completely wrong. And there's issues they take on that they're right about, but they destroy that with their hypocrisy. There are real race issues in this country, and it's destroyed by liberal hypocrisy, by feminist hypocrisy, by spiritual bottom feeder hypocrisy.